So Matilda, welcome again. The floor is yours to talk about Vietnam.
Let's go. So first of all, I guess the first slide, you probably have seen it in the last months, or let's say last years. So Vietnam really makes headlines. Hello, everyone who is joining. So yeah, I guess all of you might have seen it in every country, but Vietnam is at the moment quite on top of the economic news. So it's been a couple of years that he started to talk about the Vietnam's economic miracle, because we have to think that Vietnam 20, 30 years ago was still a very poor country. And now if you see pictures of Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, it's much different. So more recently, Vietnam has been attracting a lot of companies such as Samsung, Bosch, Panasonic. We can give many names for one reason, mostly because of the US-China war. So Vietnam is seen as an alternative to produce also. So that's why you can see, for example, your next iPhone might be made in Vietnam and that kind of things. So yeah, there is a real dynamism. We also talk a lot about Vietnam in the news regarding the COVID situation. So up to date, we only have 1,200 cases, most of them recovered. And we are also one of the rare countries expecting to have a plus 3% of GDP growth this year. So let's say that Vietnam is doing quite well. Let's move to the facts and figures about Vietnam just quickly. So for you to know, Vietnam is nowadays almost 100 million inhabitants. Plan is 120 around 2050. So it's a very big area to consider when developing business. Since more than 20 years, the GDP growth is around 6 to 7%. So again, a nice sign that the region is very dynamic. And as you might know, we have a strategic position in ASEAN because we are really in the middle of this region and able to reach whatever big city and capital within not even 2 hours of flights, of course, when it's possible. So yeah, in that sense, Vietnam is really also well positioned when we talk about production and maybe logistics. So it's quite important. There is, of course, a young and qualified workforce. The country is investing a lot in education and also infrastructure. So here on the slide, I only put education, but the percentage of the GDP invested in infrastructure is the same. And we see it physically here. Down my street, I see the first metro will come one day. So we see every day the things moving in terms of investment. It's a country open to trade. I hope, or I guess you heard recently about the European Vietnam Free Trade Agreement. So I will come back to this a bit later. Second point, more generally speaking, Charlotte, if you don't mind moving to the next slide. Vietnam, since a couple of years, has always been gaining some good rankings in the world economic rankings. So in terms of economy size, competitiveness, something important to mention is also political stability. So in terms of investments, also we see more and more FDIs coming to Vietnam, and this is even more true with the China Plus One strategy. Regarding Vietnam as an alternative to China, so the goal, of course, is not to replace China because we are not as big as China and we don't have the workforce, but just for you as a small indication, the workers' salary are now really cheaper in Vietnam than in China. So it might not be the case maybe in 5 or 10 years because Vietnam is going to have more and more innovation and workers and qualified workers. But at the moment, Vietnam is seen as a very good alternative to China, especially in electronics, for example. So I don't want to talk too much about numbers and how amazing Vietnam is. It's not the point of it today, but I want you to know that the country is both attractive for business development, so meaning foreign companies who want to sell their products or services in Vietnam, or more generally speaking in ASEAN, but also for supply chain optimization, so considering all the things I've said before regarding production, costs, and of course, location in the middle of ASEAN. I think that's enough about Vietnam in general. I want to do a little focus on the European Free Trade Agreement with Vietnam. So maybe a small historic about that. So the goal of the European Union was at the beginning to have a free trade agreement, not only with one country, but with the whole ASEAN region. As you know, ASEAN is composed of many different countries, cultures, ways of doing, etc. So they realized it will be a bit complicated to put that in place quite quickly. So that's why they decided to go first for Singapore, which was the first one signing the FTA with Europe quite rapidly. And the second one was and is Vietnam. So the entry into force took place on August the 1st of this year. And of course, it means a lot of things, but the thing that we really hear about is mostly the elimination of the custom duties. So 99% of products will come to zero taxes at some point. So you can see here some examples. Vehicles are, of course, a very huge example because the tariffs are very, very high here in Vietnam. And in 10 years, it will go down to zero. So that might be interesting, again, both for companies interested in selling their products in Vietnam, but also the other way around for companies who produce in Vietnam, but might send back the products to Europe or to Europe. The EVIPA has not yet been ratified by every country, so we consider that it might take up to 2-3 years, but that's definitely something that companies have to be aware of now. So it's about, of course, government procurement, so meaning European companies will have access to bids in Vietnam, which is not possible at the moment. And of course, they will reduce all technical barriers. And the ultimate goal will be about intellectual property rights, which can still be a problem at the moment in Asia. But that's something that will come with the years. They basically decided to break this EVFTA into 2 parts to make sure there is one coming into force in 2020 and the second one, the IPA, coming a bit later.
So and Matilda, can I just to be clear that EVIPA is the Investment Protection Agreement, right?
Yes, that's it. Sorry, I'm talking always about it, so I always use the short version, but yeah, that is. So yeah, that's a quick overview, let's say, about Vietnam. I hope it gives you a good idea of the country and its dynamism. I would like to shortly introduce about Source of Asia, because I think that's also something that can interest you today. So briefly, maybe you hear it, I'm French. So the company is founded by 2 French people, Thierry and Benjamin. It's been more than 15 years now. And we have more than 40 employees, so based in Ho Chi Minh, but not only. We also have offices in Hanoi, and we work together with partners for the whole ASEAN region, of course, with the same level of expectation as we would have. So we really developed in 15 years a very important network. So that's why we are quite well in terms of positioning when it comes to developing activities and business in ASEAN. We have 3 core activities, which I will develop a bit. So the first one is business development. Charlotte, if you don't mind clicking again. Yes. So basically business development, I guess many of you are also helping customers doing that in your own countries or regions. So we really help the companies from the market research or market study to see if there is a potential for development for their product or services. So next step being a prospection mission, so finding the right distributors, importers, in order for them to have someone here being able to distribute the products. And then most of the time they don't want to recruit someone full-time, so they use us as a sales representative. So we can dedicate, for example, 20, 30, 40% of one of our staff dedicated to one specific customer. And that's very helpful because we can do things like trainings of the staff when the people have distributors and point of sales here in Vietnam. It can go up to marketing activities, of course. And our goal is always to do this long-term sales representation. I think it's quite clear to everyone. The second one is what we call sourcing and trading. So Vietnam, as I was saying, is not, oh, sorry, I moved too fast on my presentation. No, you can go to incubation. I thought I talked about sourcing before. So incubation services, it's a quite logical follow-up of business development. So we also have companies who want to recruit directly. They need sometimes some wage hosting. They need the management of foreign workers with visas and work permits and stuff. And of course, payroll management, accounting, and a nice office to work in. So that's also services that we are able to offer, which is a nice solution. So we are really following up the customer until they grow, and we can help them also for the license domiciliation once we've helped them to develop and to be big enough to be by themselves and have their own company and legal entity. Third one is sourcing. So as I wanted to say, Vietnam is also producing a lot. So we have customers more interested in the sourcing part of Vietnam. So let's say the same process. The first step would be a strategic sourcing mission. So meaning evaluating the potential of the country to develop or produce such or such product. But of course, what we're doing evolved a bit because now it's more about global supply chain consulting. So we have many customers from China who are trying to see how to get out of China and find some other options. So not to depend anymore on only one supplier. So that's also something that we can do, and it's the core business of SOA. So it was at the beginning a sourcing company, but now we have many more services. So yeah, as you can see, we are able to accompany our customers through whatever business they want to develop in Vietnam, from business development to sourcing and up to incubation. Enough about the company. I would like to be more on the operational side, let's say. So I guess you all are facing the same problem of serving customers in COVID times. When it comes to exporting, people, they like to travel and see and meet the people face to face. So that's a problem that we are facing every day, but that's exactly why companies like us are existing and helping customers. So I wanted to show you a brief video, which is basically what we've been doing for sourcing. So we have a great example of a big Dutch customer and also having offices in the US. So we needed, they still needed to produce for the next collection. It's one of the leaders of home decoration, and they couldn't come, obviously. So what we did is that everyone had to adapt. So the customer also had to adapt in terms of times, because we had to organize the meetings together with US, with the Netherlands, and of course with Vietnam. So basically our staff went directly to the supplier's place, and they have a showroom over there. And Charlotte, if you can maybe put on the video.
Yeah, there's no sound on it, I think. So
no, there is no sound. So basically our staff organized everything, put a blanket, let's say a white one, and a camera to show them the products, because it's of course very important for them to see not only pictures, but to be able to see the product passing just as if they were here. So you see, we organize our little space at the supplier's office. So it's nice because it's also a nice example of good communication, not only with our customers, but also for our suppliers. I think something that is important in terms of communication is that we play a crucial role between the customer and the supplier. So meaning we know that some customers might have problems with finances. We know that some suppliers might have problems with delivery times and production times. So it was really important for us to discuss with both sides to be able to best adapt and to make everyone understand everyone else's problems, let's say, to find a solution together. And that worked out pretty well because it's just about communication, and both customers and supplier really appreciate it. So that's something that maybe we might keep doing in the future, even if people can still come. But we proved that it's a nice solution. They could order on time. The supplier is going to be able to produce on time. So yeah, that's another thing is that some of them had the opportunity to create some showrooms. So it's not, of course, for everyone, for every supplier, but some associations that try to support these suppliers with providing them with such a platform. So I think Charlotte put you the link. You can take a look. It was also a nice way for the customers to still see what they are able to do, etc.
So thank you.
Yeah, I took examples of lifestyle because it's a good example, because it's small things and everything is about details, etc. So we prove that it's still possible to do it even if they cannot come. What's also I think very interesting is that not only smallest or smaller, but also big companies, they had to rethink the way they are doing business. The big companies producing kitchenwares, for example, of course, they are producing a lot in China, and because of COVID problems, they couldn't get everything that they ordered. And of course, these people, they have their own sourcing teams. So most of the time, big companies, they don't need companies like us because they have very good buyers and they do it very well. But in that case, they needed local people to support them. Plus, they have big budgets when it comes to traveling. So of course, they didn't use it this year for that purpose, but they decided instead to invest that budget in basically looking for other opportunities in other countries. So one of our customers, they decided to look at countries that were really not on top of their priorities. But yeah, that's also one of the impacts that COVID has, because they need to rethink the whole supply chain just to avoid supply chain disruption. And I think that's also an interesting thing to see with our customers. Maybe last point, because I'm talking a lot about here production and sourcing, but we also have customers in business development. So the first one that I can tell is a bedding company. So they were, of course, planning to come. They couldn't, and they basically gave us the responsibility to be their full sales representative. So we did the market research, we found the distributors, but we also met the distributors and signed for them because they couldn't come. So we organized, of course, digital meeting and just play the role as a facilitator for this kind of business. So I wanted to highlight that it's still possible to sign new business for companies. And maybe last example, because it's a bit closer, we have a Dosi, which makes canned vegetables. And their office in Asia is based in Singapore, so it's not that far away. But they couldn't come, so they also gave us the sales representation for them to look for distributors to distribute their products. So yeah, I hope it gives you a nice overview of what we can do. We hope that borders will reopen soon. But yeah, everyone, including customers, showed their flexibility, adaptability, understanding, etc. So there is not only negative things about this this terrible crisis, but we are also trying every day to make the best out of it.
Well, thank you very much, Matilda. And here the last slide is the team, right?
Yeah, not complete. It was more than 1 year ago because I'm not even on it.
You're
but
missing.
We're planning to do some more with all the people.
Wonderful, Matilda. Thanks very much for being so concrete and specific in examples.